Thank you, Joey Votto, for being one of the most entertaining players in baseball. And start rehearsing that Cooperstown speech.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for a long time now, and this is my sixth full season here as a host of the Locked On Podcast Network. And you can catch me 10 times a week hosting shows, 5 here at Locked On MLB and 5 hosting Locked On A's. I'm going to be the host of Locked On A's through the end of the regular season. By the way, in case you're wondering, and I'm sure all of you are, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms, as always, apply. Follow us at Locked On MLB on Twitter or on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Hey, let's take a look at the trivia question. And the trivia question was, who is the only player since the integration of baseball to record 150 career triples? And Scott Campbell got it correct. It was Roberto Clemente. Roberto Clemente is the only one to get that, to reach that level of career triples. It's funny, triples used to be really, really prevalent at the turn of the 19th to 20th century and through early baseball. And then when the home run craze started with Babe Ruth in the night, about 100 some odd years ago, then triples just went away. And triples are now probably the most rare of the extra bases, which is why whenever someone hits a triple early in a game, I start to think, okay, be on the lookout for the cycle, because, you know, the hardest part is done. A lot of things happened in baseball today, but first and foremost, Joey Votto called it a career. And this isn't exactly a stunning turn of events. Joey Votto has been, he's played 31 games in the minor leagues this year for the in the Toronto system. And Mr. Votto Manic has been trying to make it back up. He played in rehabs with Dunedin and in the Florida Coast League. He's been in Buffalo for the last 15 games. And he just, it hasn't looked good. And the Reds and the Blue Jays were going to play each other. And when he didn't get the call for that series, he said, I'm out, retired. And a 17-year career whose peak was as solid as you could have for an offensive player in this era, he called it quits. And 17 years, even though he finished his career with the Buffalo Bisons of the Toronto Blue Jays organization, he played all of his major league games from 2007 through 2023 with the Cincinnati Reds. And he famously signed with Toronto in the offseason to extend his career, and also because he is a great hero in Canada. And he is a native born from Toronto and rooted for the Blue Jays growing up. And he wanted to play. If he was going to take a comeback season, he was going to try it with the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, he's an interesting case in so many ways. His peak obviously was tremendous. He was the National League most valuable player in 2010 when his OPS was through the roof of 1.204 OPS. Traditional stat people loved him because he batted .324 with 37 home runs and 13 RBIs. The sabermetrics crew loved him because his on-base percentage was the best in baseball, and his slugging was .600. And he was a darling for the sabermetrics crowd over the years because he got on base. Boy, oh boy, did this guy love to get on base, whether it was by the walks or by hits or by home, whatever it is. And he, in terms of time, in terms of getting on base, times on base, he led the National League in 2011, 2013, 2015, 2016, and 2017. That doesn't include the year he won the MVP. And he was a Gold Glove first baseman. He did a little bit of everything you could want. Now, I know there were a lot of Red fans sometimes who got on him for, worrying about getting walks instead of hitting home runs. And I never, ever, ever understood why he wasn't the leadoff hitter. That never made sense to me. Let me put it this way. From 2010 through 2018, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, over 9 seasons, he led the league in on-base percentage 7 times. Nobody was better of getting on base than him. So why don't you have him in the position where he is getting the most plate appearances? If someone's always getting on base, why would you have anyone batting more than him? Now, I believe he's a Hall of Famer. Some people who love more of the traditional stats will realize he didn't come close to 3,000 hits, and he didn't get to 400 home runs and all the traditional yardsticks. Well, I'm going to point out just a couple of things here. In terms of an OPS, which I know is not always the best stat to use, but it's a pretty good stat to look at in terms of combining power and getting on base. Joey Votto, over a 17-year career, okay? I'm not talking about like someone who had a big peak. Over 17 years, and including some of the years towards the end where he wasn't as productive, finished his career with a higher career OPS than Hall of Famers like Duke Snider, Albert Pujols, Mike Schmidt, Ken Griffey Jr., Willie McCovey, Willie Stargell, Eddie Matthews, Fred McGriff, Harmon Killebrew, Honus Wagner, and George Brett. Some of these players are talked about as the best players of the decades that they played in. Certainly Ken Griffey is in that list. Certainly Albert Pujols, Mike Schmidt, George Brett. And if you look at terms of combining on base and slugging for an entire career, guess what? Votto finished better than all of them. In terms of getting on base over the course of his career, he got on base more than Hall of Famers like Andre Dawson, Vladimir Guerrero, Ernie Banks, Willie Stargell, Jim Rice, Ryan Sandberg. But I'll tell you the reason why I absolutely believe he's going to get into the Hall of Fame is because over the next bunch of years, people are going to have a stronger understanding of some stats and some advanced metrics that, quite frankly, I don't understand. I don't. But when you take a look at how many of them he excelled at, I'm gonna pull one out. I'm gonna pull one out. If you look at some that he's excelled at, you realize what an elite player and elite level that he played at. I have no clue what adjusted batting runs means. But Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, and Ted Williams have the best ever of that particular stat. So clearly it's a stat that rewards good, solid offensive players like Ruth, like Bonds, and like Ted Williams. Now, in that particular statistical group, Joey Votto ranks ahead of Reggie Jackson, Ken Griffey Jr., Harmon Killebrew, George Brett, Joe Morgan, Willie Stargell, Wade Boggs, Eddie Murray, Hank Greenberg, and this is over a 17-year career in a stat that I don't understand. And yet here we are. I bet we'll see all sorts of metrics that will be truly embraced, understood, and used over the next bunch of decades, that you'll see Votto maybe not rank at the top, but certainly as an elite one. And that analysis of his career and the fact that he became one of the first big offensive superstars in the post-steroid era, that people will look at him as one of the elite players of the 2010s. He's also insanely likable, funny, clever, great sense of humor, always kind of silly, a phenomenal interview. He has a great sense of humor about himself and is going to become a superstar as a broadcaster. So maybe the love that he is going to gain from being a broadcaster, that is inevitably going to happen, will help raise his appeal in his Hall of Fame career. And I'm going to make a call right now. I wouldn't mind seeing Joey Votto in the booth instead of John Smoltz. For this main reason, John Smoltz is a grumpy old man. And when he's announcing baseball games, I'm sorry, he sounds like in my day and a grumpy guy. And if baseball is trying to remove its grumpdom, maybe they should have one of the main people narrating the highlight of the year as someone who clearly doesn't like what baseball is right now. Call me crazy about that. Now, maybe I shouldn't have him immediately be sent to the head of the line as a World Series announcer. There are other really terrific announcers, and maybe a Ron Darling or maybe a Mike Krukow and Dwayne Kite. Maybe someone else should be in there, but Vince Cotroneo. But Votto is going to be a star behind the mic, and he is going to be a star with a Hall of Fame speech that is going to be funny. So thank you for a wonderful career and being an insanely likable superstar in baseball. We don't deserve you, Joey Votto, but I'm glad you played. Hey, let's hear from our new friends over at Tonal. Look, it's tough to always go to the gym. Life gets busy, and fitting a workout can be kind of stressful. I've been up and down. There have been sometimes I've been very faithful about going to the gym, and sometimes not so much. And sometimes you get, even those dedicated times, there's so many reasons to skip going to the gym. The commute, waiting for the weights, other people's sweat. It makes skipping a workout tempting. But now you have Tonal. You can choose from thousands of workouts and train in a way that you actually enjoy at home. Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective training system that helps get you stronger. Powered by AI, Tonal learns that with every rep, it can deliver workouts personalized just for you. Tonal learns your movement and provides suggested weight recommendations for every move with detailed progress reports. They even create personalized program and workout suggestions or recommendations based on your individual goals. It's like having a personal trainer at home with you, as Tonal will optimize every workout just for you. And unlike traditional gym equipment, Tonal uses adaptive digital weight to advance your training techniques. From professional athletes to your pal Sully, Tonal is trusted by thousands who have become their strongest. And right now, Tonal is offering listeners $200 for your Tonal purchase with promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Tonal.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal, TONAL.com. Promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off. Tonal, let's get in shape. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has become the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Locked On Sports Today is available on YouTube and on Amazon TV and the free Fire Tip channel app. Check out Locked On Sports Today for all the best news and takes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Well, while Twitter, or whatever the hell it's called now, is overflowing with, unless you're following the convention, which this is not a political show, but if your Twitter feed is probably filled with all great tributes to Joey Votto, do not look up Bob Melvin, because wow, Fans are not happy with Bob Melvin, and I will tell you why. So I have to get this part up here. Bob Melvin, the manager of the San Francisco Giants, is not making any friends in San Francisco right now. Bob Melvin, by the way, these are just from some of the tweets I see. I can see why Bob Melvin has never won a postseason series. He has no sense of urgency or feel in in-game situations. Bob Melvin is the worst manager the world has ever seen in a world that gave us Grady Little. Bob Melvin's really bad at managing close games. What happened is Bob Melvin is managing the San Francisco Giants, and he is trying to get them back to the wild card, because they were a wild card team for a chunk of this season, and then they've fallen off a cliff, and now they're trying to scramble back and get and catch an Atlanta team, which sometimes looks great. They lost today. They had a chance to pick up another game. And then you have the Mets, who are up and down. And right now, the Giants, if they won the game against the Chicago White Sox, a team that's already at 97 losses, they had a chance to go for the kill, to go for the sweep, and inch closer. But you have to have that mentality. You have to have that sweep mentality. Logan Webb was pitching brilliantly for 8 innings against one of the worst teams in the history of baseball and had fewer than 100 pitches facing one of the worst teams in the history of baseball. And he took him out of the game for the 9th inning, which they were tied. I don't understand why you don't let your ace at least pitch. And who did they bring in to pitch? They didn't bring in one of their top. They brought in Eric Miller. Eric Miller came in to pitch. Fine. And then you had, with a game on the line, with a bunch of runners on, and the game on the line, in comes Spencer Bivens. Now, Spencer Bivens is a major league pitcher, and I'm very happy for him. But the Giants can't afford to lose any games at this point. You had Webb, who at that point threw 93 pitches and looked great against a team that isn't good under any circumstance. And they have to win these games. You can't say, oh, they took 2 out of 3 and that's fine. It's not. You can't afford to lose a game where your ace is dealing against one of the worst teams in baseball. At least send him out there. If he let up a leadoff hit, I understand. Okay, we let you pitch the 9th, but you let up a leadoff hit, and there you go. Bob Melvin is a 3-time Manager of the Year winner. Bob Melvin has taken 3 different franchises to the postseason, including a Diamondbacks team that had a negative run differential, and a A's team, which is always near the bottom of the payrolls, and San Diego. And yet, he's not winning any friends in San Francisco as he keeps managing. I'm a big Bob Melvin fan, but my God, he keeps managing without a sense of urgency. Putting Spencer Bivens in a potential season-altering position, I don't care if it's against the White Sox, why wasn't the ace in there? And, by the way, I mean, whether or not Bob Melvin gets fired or not, I don't know the answer. I know I'm reading several tweets here that say he needs to be fired directly into the sun, which is harsh. But I'll tell you something that's extra harsh. At one point this season, the Seattle Mariners had a 10-game lead. A 10-game lead for the division, for the Western Division. Double digits. And as recently as August 12th, 10 days ago, they were still a playoff team. Well, Mariner fans, when you wake up this morning, the Mariners aren't even a winning team. They've gone from a 10-game lead to being a 500 club in just a couple of months. In just about 2 months, have gone from they're going to run away with the division to, oh my God, they could have a losing season. Now, they lost to Los Angeles. They were doubled up by LA. And there's no real shame in losing to a terrific team. But the fact of the matter is, they are now staring at a year where they have one of the best rotations in baseball and not be able to, forget win a pennant, put a winning team on the field. Now, they're starting on Friday. Something will have to give between these two franchises with managers who have had recent success, but with fan bases who are losing their minds right now. Something will have to give. Do you know why? Those two teams will be playing each other. Two franchises who are, in the words of the great Seinfeld writer Tom Leopold, floating around like a spider in the toilet. They will play each other. And I am guaranteed now that one of them will have to win the series. And whoever loses that series, it will be late August. And this may be their season. Their season may be decided this weekend. Because if the Mariners finish this weekend and are a sub 500 team in late August, that's the season. And if the Giants finish this weekend losing ground in a wild card series in late August, that could be the season too. Something's got to give. And one fan base is guaranteed to be screaming absolute bloody murder for the removal of their manager. Is it fair? No. But to quote another great script, which is Unforgiven, deservings got nothing to do with it. Order supplies from the website that's made for skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple of clicks at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com gives you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, h-vac, and electrical supplies with fast delivery anywhere in the United States. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team. Talk to a real person every time. And there's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free Trade Master program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the Trade Master program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. Real people and real service. That's supplyhouse.com. Hey, you know all about Game Time, right? That's the best place you can go to for all of your tickets, whether it's for sporting events, comedy, theater, or whatever. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filter out the fluff to show you the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And they have Game Time Picks, which is the curation. It makes it easier to save more on sports, concert, comedy, and more. All in prices. Toggling this feature shows the total up front, no surprise fees at checkout. And you get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, and you have the lowest price guarantee, where Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. The lowest prices, they are guaranteed. Hey, thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. Let me give you a suggestion what your second listen should be. Try Locked On A's. Why Locked On A's? Well, first of all, you get more episodes hosted by me, your pal Sully. Also, we're having a really interesting year. It's the last year of the Oakland A's, and we're doing some interesting shows. Like I went all around the Bay Area, and I went to the locations where the A's proposed to build a new stadium. stadiums that were never built. We've also gone on location to the Oakland Coliseum a couple of times. We're having a lot of fun. I even went to a game in Sacramento and found out something. It's really hot there. Check out Locked On A as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, some big hitting news came around all throughout the games on Wednesday. The Yankees, who are riding their ship. I mean, they lost the extra inning game the other day, and they responded by absolutely clotheslining Cleveland. And at a very good game from Cortez, who has had an up and down season. Do you know who hasn't had an up and down season? Judge. He hit 2 more home runs. He's up to 47 home runs. He's a cinch to hit 50 home runs. He's got to hit 3 more home runs. He may hit 3 more home runs before you're done listening to this podcast. He's got 50, which means he has a legitimate shot to win, to get 60 home runs. Soto got his 36 home run. He drove in 5. His OPS is over 1,000. Judge's OPS is over 1,000. I think Judge is going to win the MVP. Soto's going to be right behind him. Now, the National League MVP is completely in the can. There's no way, shape around it. It's Shohei Ohtani, and he didn't even need to pitch this year. Guess what? He gets to pitch next year. But this year, today, he got on base twice. He scored twice. He stole his 39th base. He stole his 39th base. He has 39 home runs, which means he has a chance before the weekend is out to join the 40-40 club. Now, the 40-40 club is interesting. You had last year, Ronald Acuna Jr. hit 40 home runs, and he wound up stealing 73 bases. The other members of the 40, there was never a 40-40 man until Jose Canseco did it in 1988, and he clinched the 40-40 in late September. Barry Bonds, his dad, Bobby Bonds, came just short of being the first ever 40-40 man. Well, Barry Bonds became the second 40-40 man, and he reached the mark in late 1996. This was skinny Barry Bonds, who used to steal a lot of bases. A-Rod joined the 40-40 club in 1998. He wound up having 59 home runs and 44 stolen base. In 98. Sorry, 98. He went 42 home runs and 46 stolen bases, and did so late in 1998, in September of 1998. Alfonso Soriano of the Nats joined the 40-40 club in 2006, and last year it was Acuna. Now, Ohtani can join 40-40 with about a week to go in August. Now, stop and think about this for a second. If Ohtani hits 40-40 before the end of August, do you think he can hit 10 home runs in the month of in the month of September? And if so, do you think he can steal 10 bases? The 10 bases should be easy. They should just be giving him the green light. They should be giving him the green light like crazy. But this is Ohtani, who people say, well, is he going to be one-dimensional because he's not a pitcher this year? Well, his career high in stolen bases is this year. His previous one was 26. His career high in home runs was 46. He had 46 home runs in 2021 with 26 stolen bases. By the way, that year in 2021, he also won 9 games and threw 130 innings. In 2023, he threw 132 innings and had a complete game shutout. Well, he can, if he hits 11 more home runs and steals 11 more bases, he will be the first ever 50-50 man. This wasn't even what people were saying was going to be his skill set. We thought he was going to steal some bases. He could be the first 50-50 man. He could be the first of so many things, and he is going to win MVP number 3. There is no way around it. Keep in mind, this will be 3 MVPs in 4 years. And the one year he didn't win the MVP. He was the runner-up. That was he. It took 62 home runs from Judge to top him. And that year, he finished fourth in the Cy Young voting. I'm so glad we're talking about this instead of his interpreter gambling. Isn't this more fun? I think it's more fun. We're going to have a fun week of baseball, but here's a trivia question for you. Can you name all of the former Marlins managers to have won Manager of the Year? The Milwaukee Brewers have never had a manager win Manager of the Year. They could win it this year. Pat Murphy could absolutely win it. Who are the 4 Marlins managers of the year? Name them all. Oh, and by the way, Brewers fans seem to be a little mad at me, thinking that I've shortchanged them and ignored them and didn't respect them in the last Power Rankings video. Tomorrow, I'm talking about the Brewers, and I'm giving them their due. So follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Saying goodbye to Joey Votto and maybe goodbye to Bob Melvin or Scott Service if they mess up this weekend. And hello to the fact that Ohtani could be a 50-50 man. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.